All right, Andy and I are gonna go over what she learned this week and how to practice it. Everything we did last week is still on the table to practice it. So we still will be practicing our sits, which we will be doing in this video anyway, as well as the heeling. The heeling is the hardest thing to teach the dog, so we do want to make sure we're allotting a lot of time for practice on that heel. The first thing we're going to go over is going to be the sit stay, then we'll look at the down stay, and then we'll do our recall with e-collar conditioning. And I'll talk about e-collar closer to that. I'll show you how to turn it on and all that stuff as well. So I'll usually practice this on a rug for most dogs, especially if they're a little bit on the chunkier side, because it can take a lot of core strength for them to hold themselves up on the slick floor. And when they're just learning the behavior, I don't want to have to make them work harder than they need to. You'll also notice this weekend she may try to go into that down a lot from the sit because we've worked down so much. This is just temporary as the dog has learned down. So if that happens, we're just going to say free and put her back into the sit. We're not going to correct it or anything. She's just a little bit confused because she's learning like two things at once. Come here. Get under the heel. Sit. Good. So just like with place, sit. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Free. So there she decided she wanted to go that down. I just say, hey, no reward there. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. Now, free. Girl. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. And the sit will be our least stable stay position. Good. Place is the most stable, then down, then sit. Good. Because the dog is already half up, so it's very easy for them just to break that stay. Sit. So this will take, a little bit more reps probably than like you saw with place. Yes. Place is very like instant gratification. The sit or the sit stay that typically takes a little while. So don't be like upset or anything if you're not making crazy progress on it this weekend. Typically you're not seeing as fast of progress as you do on place. Come on. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Sit. No. So if she gets up, I'm going to say no, give her a light leash correction upward. She decided to down, free, put her back into the sit. 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 Good. Sit. Yes, girl. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and move into down. Again, I highly recommend making these all separate sessions. I just wanna make sure I get everything done for the video kind of cohesively. But for the down, we're not going to ask her for the SIT. We are just going to pull her into it. So if you remember week 1, we talked about pulling upward leash pressure to get her to sit. That's where that becomes really important. So I'm gonna use my lowering to get her into a heel position that I like. Pull up on the leash. I'm gonna tell her down, and then I'm gonna set this under my foot, pull the handle upward so that there's downward pressure on her neck. And as soon as her elbows hit the floor, pressure goes away. Good. And she gets fed. Free. Obviously we have not started down stay, so you do want to try to kind of free her fairly quickly. Like I was a little bit slow there. Down. Good. Free. Free. And the goal here, the reason we're doing so much pressure with the down is I want her to learn that, hey, if I go into the position off the word, I don't have to feel that at all. But if I needed to help her out a little and she needed a correction or something, I have like directional pressure to help clarify what I'm wanting. Down. My foot. Good. Free. Down. Good. Free. Down. Good. Free. I'm trying to give her a second to think. Free. Because she's getting to the point of verbal down. She just needs like a little bit more. So I'm waiting for her to hit that verbal down point and make that decision. Down. Yes, good girl. Yeah, that's it, girl. Yeah. Come here. Down. Good. Free. Down. Good. Free. Down. Yes, good girl. Perfect. Free. Down. Yes. Free. Down. Good. Free. So we are gonna work on our recalls in the yard. I am using a long line. This is just a Biothane long line. You can get them on Amazon for like 15 bucks. Mine is 30 feet, which is a little bit excessive. But as long as you have good line management, you should be all right with a longer one. But ideally 15 to 30 feet is gonna be your best bet. I'm gonna have her on 6 on the e-collar, so we are on level 6, and I'll go over how to use these afterward. But all I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tap, I'm gonna call her, and if she doesn't come the first time, I'm gonna tractor beam her in with the line. And then you'll see how that improves as we go. I'm gonna wait for her to get distracted, but I'm not gonna call her every time she gets distracted. I don't want her to feel like she's not allowed to move away from me. Andy! Good. Free. Andy! Good. And as a reminder, remember we are not holding that e-collar button, we are just tapping it, calling her, and then if she doesn't come to us, we're gonna pull her in with the leash, and if she does, we're just gonna make it a big deal. We're rewarding whether or not we're pulling her in with the leash. If Andy! Good. And I know that jumping is something we want to address with her as well. We will be doing that week 3. I like to use the e-collar to address the jumping, but I don't want to start using the e-collar as a punishment until the dog has a familiar association with it. So we're getting through this e-collar conditioning and stuff before we start using the e-collar as an adversive.
Good. Free. Andy. Yes, good girl. Free.
Okay, so this is y'all's e-collar box for Andy. It'll come with, this is the old collar that they come with. It kind of sucks, so that's why I replaced them. This is the charger, your e-collar tester. So if you ever, I mean, I just try them on my arm, but if you ever want to like make sure it's working, it'll light up green on there. I haven't seen this little disc thing before. I'm not quite sure actually what that is. I'll have to look into that because that's new. But it also has these extending contact points. Those are good if you have like a fluffy dog or a dog with a really like weird shaped neck. And then also a lanyard. If you'd like to put that on your remote, you totally can. And then obviously e-collars. So this is actually Aries' e-collar. So Andy's, I put a little piece of glow light tape on her remote right here, and then on the receiver right here on the collar. If you want to pull it off after training, that's totally fine. I just want to be able to like easily determine which dog's stuff is which remote is which. Obviously I don't want to be using the wrong remote with the other dog. And also it's sized, so these are both sized to the dog's necks, so that just makes life a little easier. So this is the receiver, this is the remote. This collar's nice. You can trim this excess if it's easier for you. I just keep mine bunched up, I don't know. You can just cut it with scissors. And this is actually an elastic piece. That way if the dog's neck expands from running around and stuff, the collar is still fitting comfortably. You don't want to keep this on for longer than 12 hours at a time. And then in that 12 hours, which is usually like, you know, during the day training time, I'll try to move it around the dog's neck just to make sure they're not getting any uncomfortable pressure sores from the little contact points. The only real like injury a dog can get from an e-collar is going to be pressure sores if you leave that e-collar on too long. And if the dog is wet, you want to leave that e-collar on even less. So if you take them swimming or something, I'd probably take the e-collar off afterward. This is waterproof. The remote is not waterproof. So to turn this on, oh, and by the way, so on the charger, when this is charged, this light will be green, and then on this, that light will be green. So if it's red or orange, it's not charged yet. And then of course, this little flappy thing is the charging port for the collar. Oh gosh, I need 2 hands to open it, but you get the point. And then that's the charging point for the remote. And there's the charger. But to turn this on, there's a little button right there. You're gonna hold it. Now it's on. To turn it off, it'll just do that. You don't really have to turn it off. Putting it on the charger will also turn it off, so I'm kind of lazy. I don't really turn them off a whole lot. You really only need to charge these like once a week with like moderate like pet use. So I would kind of pick a day of the week to be your e-collar charging day. I usually charge e-collars on Wednesdays here. So obviously y'all aren't worried about that this weekend, but you know, go ahead and start deciding your plan. So once this is on, first thing I do in the morning when I'm taking her out to potty, I'm putting on Andy's e-collar. Obviously that did not happen for Aries today because I was planning on using his e-collar for this video, but I'll be putting it on him too. I don't want the dog to start associating, oh, you put the collar on and then you immediately use it. They're going to start deciding to behave based on the feeling of the collar, and they can actually hear the electronics in this receiver as well. So there's, you know, it's really unrealistic to say they won't know they have it on, but I don't want them to think that they only behave when they have this on. So first thing in the morning, I'll put it on. Last thing at night, I take it off. and get in the habit of doing that already, because just like a seatbelt for a car, I don't put my seatbelt on planning to get into a car wreck. I don't put my e-collar on planning for my dog to like dart out the door and down the street. But if it happened, you know, if I got in a car wreck, I'd be happy I'm wearing my seatbelt. If my dog darted out the door, I'd be happy that I had my e-collar on. So it's also like kind of a sense of a safety belt. So for the remote, and again, you're welcome to put the lanyard on it if this is like weird for you. But you're gonna hold the power button and it'll say on. Andy is working on level 6. So if you need to adjust the levels, there's a plus or minus here. Obviously 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or I can bring it down. You're welcome to lightly play with the levels, but really you don't want to see a whole lot of, you don't want to see the dog indicating that they feel it, essentially. I want it to be very low level. So 6 is perfect for Andy most of the time. I would say if you're wanting to play with it on your arm, like right on the big meaty part right there. Sorry, I'm covered in bruises. That way you can feel the stim and stuff. You're not too worried about the rest of these buttons. The L is like a flashlight on the collar. That's cool, but the rest will come later. And then the button that you are concerned about is going to be the black button. So we don't need to mess with the red button. The red button does the rising stim. We're not at the point where we need that right now. So you're just going to be using the black. So whatever level I set it to, so if I set it to level 31 and I'm hitting the black button, this is giving out the 31 stim. If I put it on level, not level 0, but level 1, that's giving out 1, which is like undetectable to me. But then the red button obviously rises. We don't want to use that right now. We're still learning how to use the e-collar. This is the programming button. If you mess with this, you'll probably end up having to call me to fix your e-collar. It is totally fine. Just try not to maybe reprogram it. But the instructions are also under here too, under this tray. So you can check those out as well. They've got really clear instructions. So yeah, that's it for the e-collar. It's super simple. I just put it on, I wiggle it around a second, make sure it's like in between the hairs, and it's ready to go.